Alright guys, Dominic here for Kit Guru, and today we are looking at Nvidia's RTX 3080. And I mean, we are looking at it in the most literal sense. Today is just an unboxing embargo. You are going to have to wait 4 more days until Monday the 14th for our full review of this Founders Edition. But here we can just take you through the card, a quick look at the cooler. We did a recent kind of talking head style video where I went through some key specs, other interesting points I had about the Ampere architecture and these cards as a whole. But in this video, we're just going to open the box, see what we get, and take a look at the card itself. So the first thing I have to say is, unfortunately guys, I did actually already open the box before I knew there was an unboxing embargo, so this isn't the first time I've opened the box, but we will do it now anyway, again. I put everything back just as it was. So obviously the box itself is different. It's now black instead of the more kind of silvery grey of the 20 and 10 series cards. Whether or not you're bothered about that, up to you. And then look at that lovely presentation there with the 2080. It comes inside this really nice stiff foam padding, so obviously your card's not going to get damaged in shipping. It has a really nice kind of fresh hardware smell as well. Definitely one of the best bits of the job. So if we take the card out, we will come back to this, obviously give it a good going over. But first, let's see what else comes in the box. So the only other included accessory is this other smaller box. And in here we have a little warning sheet. We also have 2 booklets. One, a G4 support guide, and the other is a 3080 quick start guide, which we are not going to be reading. Now this is interesting though. This is obviously the adapter for the new 12-pin connector. So if I just move this out the way, the interesting thing about the 12-pin, which may not be abundantly clear from the fact that it's just called a new 12-pin connector, is it's physically much smaller. So when I first heard Nvidia was doing a 12-pin, I thought, okay, you know, it's 4 less pins in total than using 2 8-pins. I guess it's a little bit of a space savings. But what may not be, you know, obvious is the fact that the pins themselves and just the overall scale of the connector is much smaller than a typical 8-pin. So you're actually getting more power in a much physically more compact connector. I think the rumor is, or at least someone definitely suggested, the connector itself can do up to 600 watts. But obviously if you are using it with an adapter from 2 8-pins, that's going to be 300. As the 3080 is a 320 watt card, I'm not exactly sure how the wattage, the power will be split, but you could get 300 through the connector and another 75 through the PCIe slot. So we'll have to see how that goes. But anyway, that is really it for all the accessories that come in the box. What we're really here for is a look at the card itself and the cooler. So with this new Founders Edition design, Nvidia has, I would say, made a radical departure from its previous 20 series, which I have over here. This is my 2080 Super, and the Founders Edition cards for the 20 series themselves were a big departure from all of the blower style coolers we saw from the 10 series, the 9 series, and so on. So I really wasn't expecting Nvidia to change things up as much as they did. It is still a dual fan cooler. We talked a little bit about this in my previous video, but it's always good to see it in the flesh. So we have this fan on the underside. Imagine it's going to be installed like this. This fan on the underside is a push fan, so all the air comes basically straight through the card and out the I/O bracket. Whereas the fan on the top is going to pull air through the heatsink, the fins on this underside of the card, and then exhaust it up out into that CPU memory area of your motherboard / case. So very different. It's really going to be interesting to see just how well this card performs in terms of its temperatures and acoustics. Obviously, the thing to bear in mind is this is a 320 watt card, whereas the 2080 Ti was 250 watts, so 70 watts more. It'll be really interesting to see whether this cooler is, you know, has just been built to deal with the extra heat, or it's going to radically increase overall GPU temperatures, or reduce them, should I say, and while also reducing noise. So Is it significantly better at cooling the 320 watt GPU than, say, the 250 watt 2080 Ti, or is it really just to deal with that extra heat? That is definitely something to check out. Other things to be aware of, back to that 12 pin, is nestled right here, kind of in the middle-ish of the front side. So it's definitely a slightly awkward angle. It's going to be very interesting to see exactly what it's going to look like when installed in a case. That isn't something we can show you right now, but definitely interesting placement. The adapter as well is quite short, so cable management, if you buy a Founders Edition, potentially problematic, but I guess that really comes down to how fussed you are about aesthetics, how clean you think you could make it. As for the overall feel of the cooler itself, very, very solid. I think, let me just do a quick comparison. I'm pretty sure it's going to be heavier than the Super. Yeah, it is a fair bit heavier. I've not weighed it yet, but that is definitely something I can do for the review. But it is a significantly heavier card. It isn't actually that much bigger though. It's a little longer. I think it's 285 millimeters long, whereas the Founders, I think off the top of my head, were about 268. But in terms of overall thickness, they're both dual slots, and it doesn't look like the 3080 is significantly taller either. So again, comes back to that cooler design. I would say it's probably going to be a lot better at dealing with the 320 watts of heat than anything this card could have done, but all speculation at this point. We're going to have to look at thermals in the review. Other things to note about the card itself, obviously we have the GeForce RTX logo here, and then it says RTX 3080 on the back. I guess this is somewhat of a backplate, even if there is a fan there as well. I/O bracket, this comes to our ports and connectors. Here we have 3 display ports and then 1 HDMI. There has been, I would say, a little bit of controversy over the port selection. It's 3 DisplayPort 1.4a, so not DisplayPort 2, which some people were a bit disappointed about, but the card does have HDMI 2.1, which does deliver the full, I think it's 48 gigabit per second bandwidth. So that is, I know I've got a LG B9 OLED TV, so that does have HDMI 2.1. So with the 3080, I should be able to get 4K 120 Hz on that TV, but I've not tried that yet, so we will have to wait and see. Other than that though, guys, that pretty much does it for our unboxing. Like I said, check out our recent talking head video if you want to hear a little bit more discussion about the card itself, some general Ampere architecture features, even some early indicators of performance we have had. But really, stick around for our full review coming soon. That is going to be coming on September the 14th. So I've been working hard, benchmarking hard. We're going to have a lot of data to present to you guys on that. But really, that is it for this video. So like and subscribe. Do leave me your comments down below. Let me know what you think of the cooler as a whole. And other than that, guys, I've been Dominic for Kit Guru, and I'll see you in the next video.